There's actually more to the story, and we'll get to it in a moment. But first, Bill was irresistibly distracted and just had to share the moment with you, especially our longtime viewers.
Folks, I absolutely cannot believe it. I'm going to have these folks introduce themselves, and you are?
Ashley.
And you are?
John.
Okay, I haven't had them say their last names because I am stunned. These are Alison's kids. Those of you who have been watching Motorsports Unlimited for a long time, I don't even have to say the last name. It was Alison Damore when she was on the show, but it's Alison Byhan. I never can say it.
Alison Byhan.
Byhan. But everybody knows Alison is Alison. Alison was the favorites of grandmas and children alike. She was an absolutely special participant in Motorsports Unlimited for so many years. I would say about 5 years, something like that. And Alison was one of those charming, endearing. First of all, she was certainly beautiful and had a great figure, and I'm guessing still does. I haven't seen her in many years, but you wouldn't know that because you're the son, right? Okay, but she was a charming, endearing person. Grandmothers and grandfathers liked her as well as little children, and she was good with all of them. I remember when we would go to racetracks like Iliana Speedway or Raceway Park, and I'd walk out there with the girls, including your mother, in costume to do trophy presentations, and everybody in the audience is yelling, "Alison, Alison, Alison!" So yeah, she was a big. Did you know that all about your mother?
No.
That she was ever in a showgirl costume in front of a huge audience on the racetracks and all that?
We know that, yeah.
You know all that. Well, I'll tell you, she was something special, no question about it. And anyhow, as a matter of fact, Jerry, come here quickly. Hurry up. We've got Jerry Lockhart. You know why. We'll get to that in a second. Just step in here real tight, real tight. You'll never guess who these two are.
No, I won't.
You remember Alison, I'm sure.
Of course.
These are her children.
Oh my goodness.
Do you believe that?
Wonderful.
I can't.
That's wonderful.
I thought her children were like this.
It's going on like this. Fantastic. I'm really glad to see
Anyhow,
you.
thanks for joining us. We got to keep going, folks. I can't. Alison's kids.
It's hard to believe Alison's kids are adults. The last time we saw one of them was when the first one was born, and Alison brought her new baby to the Oak Brook Terrace Car Show. Time sure passes fast. Of course, our regular viewers remember Jerry Lockhart and the fact that he created and presents the Chris Schutz and Tom Lima Awards at the Riverside Garage Show each year, and his arrival means it's time to do that now.
Folks, as you know, every year we do a couple of special awards here at the Riverside Garage Car Show. I want to reintroduce my old friend who was the person that created these awards, and I'll explain them in a moment. Tell the folks who you are.
Jerry Lockhart, Lisle, Illinois.
Jerry Lockhart and Jerry and I became friends many, many years ago when they used to do the Oak Brook Terrace shows.
Way before that, Billy. You were doing my Lisle shows and stuff.
We really go back a long way.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jerry was well aware of the work that Chris Schutz did on Motorsports Unlimited, and the more he got to know me, the more he got to know her, and the more he began realizing how much of the show she was. If it hadn't been for Chris Schutz, there wouldn't have been a show. At the same time, he became friends with a cantankerous character. Tell the audience who it is.
Tom Lima, who was basically the predecessors of all these car shows.
All these local summer car shows.
Tom kind of fine-tuned this to an art that everyone's copying nowadays.
That's correct. And he wanted to... Tom Lima, unfortunately, passed away of a massive heart attack. He was much too young. Seems to be about 50, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, much too young. And then my Chris passed away in 1996 from a brain aneurysm. And Jerry, despite what he looks like and can bench press 400 pounds, despite all that, is one of the most sensitive guys that you'll ever run into. And he wanted to do something where these names, Chris Schutz and Tom Lima, weren't forgotten. And he created these awards, the Chris Schutz Award and the Tom Lima Award. And every year since 1996, we've been doing this every year. Typically what we do is Jerry, because he knew Tom better than I do, he will pick a car that he thinks may not be the best car in the show. Maybe that's not the point. It's the car that he thinks Tom Lima would have liked best. And he'll pick that award. And then I pick a car that I think Chris would have liked best. Well, this year it's a little bit different because I picked a story, and we'll get to it in a second. We have these two gentlemen here. You just met them a little while ago, and I think Chris would have loved these guys. This is exactly the way Chris saw motorsports. She saw it as men working together, fathers and sons, not just fathers and sons, but daughters too when that happens. But she saw it as a bridge, as a social bridge between people. And I'm not sure I've ever seen it work quite as well as I have between these two guys. So rather than pick one car or their other cars, we're going to pick both of these guys and their story, and they can hold the trophy together. Now, we have one thing to do before we get to that. Is Jerry, you have a story here you want to tell? Please tell the folks who you are.
Tom Bauer from Island Lake, Illinois.
Okay, and Jerry has a special, this is kind of an old-timer thing, which is what this is all about anyway. Tell it.
Again, every year I try and bring someone from the past, and Tom and I were in car clubs, competing car clubs back in the 50s in Broadview, Illinois. Yeah. Tom founded the Tack Masters. I was in the Ram Inductors. And we did car shows back in the 50s and 60s. We traveled everywhere. Navy Pier, Moline. We were doing shows way back. He actually introduced me to shows. I didn't think about that till now. Yeah. Tom was the guy that would go up to A&W not far from here, and his dad's 58 Impala 283 Power Glide, challenge the guy to a drag race down the road, go home and get his identical 58 Impala 348 Tri-Power 4-speed and wipe the snot off the poor guy.
You were one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
You took home the money.
Yeah.
Again, this will not mean a lot to the youngsters out there in our audience, but to us old guys, believe me, this is how we lived our lives. I can tell you stories about, we all used to go to Skips because Skips was the big place like American Graffiti around here. But the serious guys, where did they go? I bet you don't remember. The Pie Pan.
Oh, yeah.
The Pie Pan. That's where they came up to Pie Pan, which was on Peterson and the Eisenhower before the Eisenhower was done. Yep. Or Edens, you're right, before the Edens was done. And believe me, when you came to the end there, you knew at the end because all of a sudden the earth ended. There were no more traffic lights and it was a 2-lane road from a highway. And that was the finish line. Anyhow, we've got a million old stories, but the Pie Pan, you brought your car on a trailer. Right. Now, before we go any farther and run out of show, yes.
Thing. One of the gentlemen in his club, actually his father invented the torque wrench. His name was Sturdivant.
Oh.
And it was on his race car.
Yeah. Well, so apparently you're here today with a gold-plated car.
No, he wasn't my father. He was a good friend.
Anybody from my era knows the Sturdivant torque wrench.